Hello everyone, this is Raul Peña from SmartBridge, and today I'm gonna do a demo of a use case for UiPath. We're doing this with the ERP of our client, that is JD Edwards. So this is a process that runs at the end of every month. This is a manufacturing company that does finished goods. So what they have to do is that at the end of the month they have to reconcile all the item ledger with the general ledger and the work orders, so the materials. So this usually takes them about 15 minutes per work order, checking all the data from all the sources, and they usually have from 100 to 200 work orders per month, which translates into 50 hours a month, more or less. This is done by several people, it's not just one person, but still it takes a lot of time from them. So in our path to automation, the first thing we did was assess the current process. You can see it down there. So it's pretty straightforward. Log into our ERP, retrieve the work orders we need to process based on the status, extract our information to Excel, and then compare the results from all the sources. After that, they get an Excel file they usually put together, and based on that, the ones that match, they just keep processing them as completed, and the ones that don't, they have to review and analyze. So this is how it looks as a manual process, and this is how it looks as a automated process that is gonna be performed by robots. So one of the things, so we explore several ways of doing this. So the first one we explored was doing it through UI, which is a bunch of screens you have to click and then open some applications, extract the data, and then you will get all the information you need. This is replicating how the manual process works. So we try automating that, and eventually we realized that it would be easier if we go through the SQL path. The SQL path has, so that path would be this one here. The SQL path has some pros and some cons. One of the pros, of course, is that the access to the data is straightforward, and we can get all the data in a couple of SQLs. And the cons is that some companies will have concerns about providing SQL access to a bot that has access to their database. But so we decided that it was a good way to use SQL for this automation, and so we proceed with that. So on the process of automating this process, we also discovered another thing. First, we created an automation doing all the SQLs by separate, so querying each table separately. So for this process, we need 4 tables: item ledger, product cost, general ledger, and the cost table that it's just generic. So when we were doing these queries, we realized that we can run all of this in one big query that will just throw everything out. So one of the things that happen with automation is that when you are reviewing your business processes, you sometimes will find that you can enhance them just by doing some small actions that are not even related to robots or the automation itself. So just by reviewing them, you will find some opportunities to improve your processes. So all of that being said, let's jump into the demo. So the first thing I'm gonna demo to you is how it looks in a user interface way. So as I told you, the first thing we explored was doing it through a user interface. It works really nice. But in the end, we ended up doing it the SQL way. And one of the things that UiPath offers, and probably something you want to do, is implement source control. So for all our demos and all the code we are writing, we have it source controlled. So any change we do, we have to check out our projects, check it in, so we don't lose code. I'm opening our file right now. So the path on the right, that is the one that goes through the UI. So I'm gonna shoot that first. Also, it will give you an idea of how the time reduces a lot by using the SQL method instead of the UI method. So I'm gonna run it, and you're gonna see everything happening right here on my screen. So my hands are off the keyboard right now. I'm not touching anything, and the bot is opening the browser by itself. It's typing the stuff, it's logging in, and so what what it's gonna do, it's gonna open the interface, it's gonna type the table it needs, and it's gonna filter, and it's gonna extract the data into the downloads folder. So at the end, what we will have is an Excel file, a CSV file with all the data we need. So this is just to retrieve the work orders we need to process. So this is, we can say that this is like our first step. So you can see how now it's typing the work orders table, that it's a 4801 in JD Edwards. It can be any other ERP, any other table. So the software, it doesn't matter. And now it's extracting it, it's gonna export it to CSV, and it's done. So this is our first step, and it took around, I don't know, 1 minute, maybe a couple of minutes. So this is how it works using the UI. Now we're gonna jump to the SQL path, that is this one on the right. And what this does is that on the inside, so it builds a data table that it's where it's gonna store everything, and then it does a database extraction. So it runs 3 queries separately, and then it iterates through each one of them until it gets all the information it needs. Then it writes it in the data table we created at the beginning. And that data table is sent by email at the very end. So we get an email with all the work orders that were processed, and we can see right away if they match or not. So this is the second approach we did, and with this you won't see anything because this runs SQL, so it runs in the background. I can actually close all of this, and I just created this message that says completed, just so you guys can see it. So it says completed. We click OK. And what you will see here is that we got this file that says final output.csv, and all these files that we get here, that these are all the files that it work with. The only one we are interested in is the final output, and for that I'm gonna open my email so you guys can see that I in fact got an email with the results. And so it should come anytime. And okay, so here it is. So I got this email from UiPath SmartBridge bot, and it's telling you, hello, please find attached the revision file for this month. Thanks. And attached, we have this file here. So this file is the same one I have here on my desktop. I just put it on the desktop for debugging purposes, so you can see what's going on, because SQL happens in the background, so you don't see anything. And then on the Excel file, we got the consolidation of all this information that they are interested in. So right away, just opening it and looking at it, they can see that like the first order, it has some very big mismatches here, so they can just go and review. And the ones that they see that match, like this one here, the line number 4, they know that one is correct, so they can just keep processing those. And so this is the second approach. And then we have a third approach. So when we were doing this, we realized that the SQL can be optimized, so we don't have to use separate SQLs. And for that, we created a third scenario, which will create everything in one run. And the file is much more useful. We added a lot more columns, and the execution time, and you will see this. Okay, so this is it. I'm gonna run it, and we're just gonna count the time from when I started until I get the email. It's gonna be like a couple of seconds. So I just started. Then we can start counting like 1, 2. Okay, it's done. So it took it like 5 seconds. I actually took the time with a clock, and it takes around 5 to 6 seconds. So we get this email here. It's basically the same email we got before, but the output is different. So if I open it, you will see this one is a lot more detailed. It runs in seconds instead of the other one runs in like 10-15 seconds. This one runs in like 6 seconds. And this one provides a lot more information. We added another table actually. And then we get this super detailed report that if you give this to an accountant, they will know right away what's wrong and what's correct. And so, but this is just, we can say this is just the first step, because after this we can keep automating. We can make the robot compare the amounts, and then make process the work orders that are correct. It can keep processing them, and then the ones that are not, that can be sent by email. So, and then after we're done with this, we can look at the numbers, and we can see, so the ROI on this process, on this particular one, it's impressive, because it went from 60 plus hours they were taking, 50 to 60 hours a month, it went down to 6 seconds. So in a real-time scenario, so right now we process 20 work orders. They will process around 150 to 100. So it will take them around a minute, 45 seconds to a minute to get all this data that it took them 60, 50 hours before. So that's the manufacturing accounting reconciliation demo. For more information, visit smartbridge.com/automation. Thank you for watching.